Welcome to the special meeting of the Bakersfield City Council. Now speaking, the Honorable Mayor Karen K. Go.
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to call to order the 4:30 special City Council meeting of August 17th, 2022. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mayor Go,
Here.
Vice Mayor Weir, Councilmember Arias,
Here.
Councilmember Gonzalez, Councilmember Smith,
I am here.
Councilmember Freeman, Councilmember Gray,
Here.
and Councilmember Parlier.
Thank you. In keeping with Council's resolution, the public statements portion is now divided into two periods. There's a period for items listed on the meeting agenda and items not on the meeting agenda. Statements for items listed on this afternoon's agenda are given a 2-minute time limit, 20 minutes total per agenda item. Statements regarding items not listed on the agenda are also given a 2-minute time limit, 20 minutes total. If you have written comments that are longer than your verbal statement, give them to the clerk, who will give copies to the council. If you're here to make a public statement, please fill out the public speaker card and give your completed card to the clerk. We ask that you mark whether you're here to speak on an item listed on this afternoon's agenda or on a matter not on the agenda. Speakers who do not identify a specific agenda item will be presumed speakers for the non-agenda portion. Those speakers will be called during the non-agenda portion of the meeting. Madam Clerk, do we have any public speakers regarding items listed on this afternoon's agenda?
Mayor Go, we have received no speaker cards for items listed on this afternoon's agenda.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, do we have any public speakers regarding items not listed on the agenda?
We have also not received any speaker cards for items not listed on this afternoon's agenda.
Thank you. And now, City Manager.
Do we want to read the
Yes,
item?
would you please announce the next section?
The next item is 3A, reports. A report on agreements with High Street IT Solutions and related partners for the purchase of enterprise resource planning software and implementation services, a total not to exceed $8,600,000.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'll just say a few introductory remarks and then kick it over to our Finance Director, Randy McKeegan. Just as you know, this is a big ticket item that we've been saving for a number of years. Typically, any large organization, particularly any large government with our important transparency and accounting in our finances, requires a core financial software system. Often those are paired with human resources and city finances. And it's typical for those to be replaced in anywhere in a 7 to 10 year cycle. Our current software system was implemented in the mid-90s, and so it's well past time. So we've been saving up for this project. The good news is that we have all of the funds set aside, and that we have been working with the Government Finance Officers Association, well respected and experts in this area, to go through a process that Randy will walk through with you to land now where we're ready to kick off this really important project we've been preparing for a couple of years. So Randy.
Thank you very much, City Manager Clegg. So we can pull up that slide presentation, please. Just press F5. There we go. Thank you very much. Well, good afternoon, Mayor, Council members. Appreciate the opportunity to present this report. We put this report really together to really provide Council more background and really supplemental information related to this project. We've placed on tonight's agenda, the regular 5:15 agenda, the agreements, a number of agreements to move forward with this project, replacing our existing ERP, which is called Naviline, with a system called Oracle Cloud. So staff wanted to really give you additional information, that the additional ability to clearly understand how we're going to move forward with this project and move through this integration for the next year and a half. specifically looking at the nuances of this project, how we got here, and how we're going to move forward to really move forward with a system that's going to improve our city operations. So before we move forward, I want to talk about how we got here. The city began working on this back in 2019. The city manager's office, finance department recognized the need to really modernize our systems. We recognized there were some deficiencies in our current ERP, and we needed to really move forward with a plan to really make the improvements that were necessary. So we entered into an agreement with the Government Finance Officers Association back in 2019. They have a team really specializing in this type of work. They really look at municipalities like the city of Bakersfield and look at their practices, their systems, and so they can understand really that their weaknesses, what they're doing right, and really build entities moving towards best practices for government entities, cities of our size. So we entered into that agreement back in 2019 to really look at our policies and procedures in our systems. Part of that process involved reaching out to our city staff across not just finance, but across all the city departments to really understand how they are doing the work that's necessary to be the best service that they can to the community. So they went through really in-depth analysis of processes, specifically as they related to our current ERP, also related to secondary service systems that connected to our ERP, and also looking at what we call workarounds. Over 20 years we've had this ERP, and so there have been workarounds established across all the departments to really make up for the deficiencies of Naviline. So they really put all this information together to really understand what was needed for the city to move forward. After all this work, there was a delay because of the pandemic. So by 2021, we eventually got the report from GFOA. And their recommendation was, as we expected, to move forward with a replacement of our current ERP with a 21st century system that will provide effective and efficient services, both internally and also be more outward facing, provide more transparency to our citizens, our customers, and to our vendors. So we talked about this a little bit, but ERPs don't just deal with activities occurring within the finance department. They touch many aspects of departments across the city, whether it be budget management, tracking, data tracking, project management, grant management, human resource and capital management. All those things are involved under that umbrella of an ERP. But the one nuance here is, just as an aside, our current ERP, Naviline, does have modules that are not included in modern ERPs. So we have a utility billing system and a community development system. That community development system is used by development services and public works to track permits and related to the work that they do for code enforcement and building inspections. So those are not included in modern ERPs. So we're going to be moving forward with a separate procurement process. So that's not going to be included in the discussion of the ERP that we're actually talking about today, but I wanted to bring that up. We'll talk about that a little bit later as well. But again, ERPs are all-encompassing and cover a lot of the activities for cities. So ultimately, as we said, the GFOA offered a suggestion, a recommendation to replace our current Naviline system, and we ultimately agreed on that. So the next step was to reach out again to GFOA and build up a request for proposal that really was robust. They really took the information they gained from that analysis, the first report, and put together an RFP to really where we needed to be moving forward. That resulted in 10 specific proposals from 10 different implementers and 10 specific software systems. We elevated those. We had our ERP review team look through those, and after reviewing those 10 proposals, we ultimately determined to elevate 5 specific software packages or implement proposals, which included 3 specific software packages: Tyler Munis, Workday, and Oracle, and it also included 2 separate integrators for Workday and Oracle. So we went through 9 days of demonstrations to go through these 3 different products. and ultimately elevated 2 of those products, Workday and Oracle, for discovery sessions. These were one-day sessions allowing us to get more information. Q&As were really get in depth into these products, and one implementer from each of those software packages to really ask them how they were going to go through this process and build a successful plan. So again, that wasn't just our proposal review team, but we also had staff, stakeholders, the individuals who really are married to a successful ERP products. So they also sat through these demonstrations, sat through these discovery sessions, and provided their feedback on what they were seeing in how these specific systems differed and what they were offering different from what we currently use, and offered recommendations for the best fit for the city going forward. So ultimately, after all of this work, all of these demonstrations, all of these proposals, we selected Oracle Cloud Solution as the best product moving forward for the city. The review team really looked at these products, and it was unanimous. The Oracle Cloud system was really the one system that we felt fit the needs of the city, really moving us forward again into the 21st century, and also offering a lot of the graphic shows a lot of these important pieces that are necessary for a successful operation of a city. That review team included many individuals from multiple departments, not just finance, not just the city manager's office, but we had individuals from water, recreation and parks, development services, public works. All of those individuals really, again, saw this product as the answer to what we needed to do to replace our ERP system. So again, Oracle Cloud was the system that we selected. It's important to understand that Oracle Cloud is not a system that's focused primarily on servicing municipal governments like our current ERP. Oracle Cloud is supported by the 4th largest software company in the world, and they provide Oracle Cloud services to their ERP to publicly traded companies like Xerox, General Dynamics, Mazda also use Oracle Cloud. Large states use Oracle Cloud, large counties use Oracle Clouds, and of course city governments use Oracle Cloud. This is the list that we found of individual cities, large cities that currently use, in California, that use the Oracle Cloud system. You'll see on that list 3 of the 10 largest cities, like the city of Bakersfield, use this Oracle Cloud system. Again, we understand that there are some questions about whether this is a system that's going to be supported in the long term. Oracle, again, very large multinational company. We anticipate they will support this as a top-tier system. They will invest in its success over the useful life of this particular, again, if it's a decade plus, we anticipate that Oracle will be there for us to support it and invest in its success. One other item to really focus on, it's in the name. It's a cloud-based system. So the hardware, the software is on servers that are not maintained by the city. The updates to that software are not required. We do not require city staff to maintain that software. So we anticipate some savings occurring, as we do not need to buy new hardware to support the system, or expend as much time from our IT staff to really update the system and make sure it's working correctly. That is done by Oracle staff and third parties. It will not be done by city staff. I touched on this a little bit, but Oracle does not actually do the implementation. They require on third-party certified implementers to do the work. So we received, I believe it was 6 separate integration proposals for Oracle. We elevated 2, we interviewed those 2, and ultimately we settled on High Street IT Solutions as with the best plan and path moving forward on this product. High Street has over 20 years of experience in implementing only Oracle systems. They have had excellent success in municipality implementations across the country. They have provided a service package that we felt really moved the needle in their direction on the level of service that they were going to be offering us compared to the other entities that were offering Oracle as a solution. And part of that is the focus on staffing. Many of the proposals had a high level, and staffing is going to be required for the city. The city will have to invest a lot of time into this, but the staffing levels that they expected under High Street's plan was much less than the other integrators, and we really needed that because we are, and I think we all understand that we're really short-staffed as a city right now, and we understood that this plan really helped, will help us have a successful implementation. Other items that really moved or differentiated High Street over other implementers one of them was the data conversion process. You don't have to get into the weeds on this, but we need to have good data move from our old ERP into our new ERP, and there's a lot of time would be required to do that. Cleaning up the data, making sure that it's accurate, and it comes over in the right place. They have a proprietary system called Bridges that really expedites that process, saves them time, saves us time in that data conversion that other entities did not offer. Another differentiating factor is they offer additional support. After the go-live date, we will have a 6-month cloud service where they will be there for us to make sure the integration's going correctly, any changes and updates to the system are being implemented correctly, working with the system as designed, and they will also offer some training if necessary to really get the implementation and the integrations moving forward correctly. A couple other items that really differentiated them was training. Most of the proposals that we saw, the weight of that training was really landed squarely on the shoulders of city staff. We would have to build plans, build manuals, and really just have a training that really was focused on city staff doing the lion's share of that work. They offered a third-party Transamerica Training Management, which is TAM, as the contracted service provider that's focused. Their focus is Oracle training. They've done training programs with other municipalities, so we'd be able to leverage off their experience, and also a good portion of that work and that required training will be put on that third-party shoulders as opposed to IT staff, finance staff, and the like. Again, saving us time and moving forward on a better path. The final item that's additional contracted services is through a company called Can-Am Teller. Again, modern ERP systems, unlike our current one, do not have the cash receipting module included in the ERP, so we would have to contract out that service to a company called Can-Am Teller. Can-Am Teller is a top-tier company. They integrate with Oracle, they integrate with other ERPs, and we are entering into an agreement to provide the services and the related hardware to provide proper cash receipting systems for the city and our customers. So, the item before council at the 5:15 meeting is asking for council to approve, in essence, 6 separate agreements. The first agreement is a master agreement. It basically is the governing agreement over all the other related service agreements. It includes an acceptable use policy, which lays out the guidelines of how the city, the expectations of the city, how the city is expected to use the software. It also, in the master agreement, lays out the Oracle Cloud Service and related software purchase for Oracle. This agreement sets the price for the software for 5 years. So the price on the master agreement covers us for 5 years. There's no negotiations of that price. We are set for 5 years once that agreement is in essence approved. And beyond that, we actually we talked about these various other agreements, but the 5 other agreements relate to the services and software that I discussed earlier. Each one of these is laid out separately. We felt it made more sense than having a single agreement that had all of these parts to it, because each one of these have different pricing structures, have different terms, so it made more sense to have them treated as separate agreements versus having them under one agreement. So if for whatever reason we need to amend an agreement, we can just amend one of those if we needed to increase training or we needed to change some of the activities related to the extended cloud, for example. We don't have to amend the whole master agreement. It would just be related to the individual item that we really needed additional services for. So again, these 6 items presented to council, expected in the 5:15 meeting under the consent agenda, will total not to exceed amount of $8.6 million in total. once approved, after this evening's meeting, we will move forward with the project. It's an 18-month planned integration with 2 phases, a 12-month phase for the financial side of the ERP, and then a 6-month phase for the human capital resources or human capital management and payroll sections of the ERP. We anticipate, if approved tonight, to move forward with the actual work within sometime after Labor Day. I talked about it earlier. We also have these separate procurements occurring related to the utility module and the community development modules. Those proposals are due after Labor Day as well. We anticipate taking those separate agreements to council sometime in the fall. And we anticipate that the implementation of those products will be parallel and in tandem with the ERP project, and will be completed in that same time frame, 18 months. So if everything moves forward as we anticipate, that this product will be ready to go and integration will be completed by February 2024. Before I wrap up, I just wanted to offer some thanks. We had a lot of city staff invest time in looking through these demos, going through these discovery sessions. Our ERP evaluation team spent hours looking through hundreds of pages of proposals and sitting through, as I said, 9 full days of demonstrations, and they showed a tremendous amount of dedication to getting the project, because the project, done correctly, an ERP that really will provide the best services, because they understand what this will end up resulting for them and their departments. It really will move us forward in a very positive way. So, just want to thank Luda, Cassandra, Raj, Aaron, Mario, and Alexis for the work that they've done on getting this through. So, with that, I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Mr. McKeegan. Mr. Clegg, any comments before we go to council? Colleagues, any questions, comments? Councilmember Gray.
Thank you for that presentation. I know you guys, all of you, are probably really excited about this. At the same time, you're probably scared to death.
Yes, both.
That's a hard one, making that kind of a transitional move, no doubt. So I appreciate all the hard work that you all are going to have to put into this to make this work. It's not going to be easy for you. So what is the total that we've saved towards this project? And then what is the
total set aside is actually $22 million.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
So the 8.6 will cover us for this phase, and then we actually have available funds again for that second. Those 2 other are proposals, and then other contracted work. We know that there's going to be other demands, whether it be outside services or to get this across the finish line.
So do you think to get it across, you'll come within that budget that you all have already set aside, or do you think there'll be any surprises?
I don't think there'll be surprises that get us above the $22 million, honestly. I think that we've set aside a good amount that really has, I would say, sufficient funds to get us all the things we need to really have a successful ERP implementation.
Great. Well done. Thank you for that presentation.
Thank you, Mr. McKeegan. Is any other request?
Motion to receive and file.
You have a motion? Please cast your votes.
Motion was approved with council members Freeman and Parlier absent.
Thank you. We have no other items, and so we are adjourned at 4:54.